Game one.
We are jumping onto patch 8.15 still, guys. Still the same patch we had for the wildcard match a few days ago. Big thing to take away is Akali is still globally disabled for playoffs in Korea. No Akali today, no ban required. Of course, pick banned status over in EU and NA. Speaking of pick bans here, look at this. The Swain that we saw Kramer play twice, and Kramer is in for game number one. Banned away. Also, Kuro's Yasuo will be banned in first round. The Tom Kench, the notable first pick for Kingzone, is taken away as well. But so far, the Taliyah will be left open to be selected by Kingzone if they want.
Well, we saw what Afreeca did to Gen G when Gen G hopped Ambition onto the Taliyah first pick. They just scooped up the Olaf and said, well, we'll go ahead into that matchup. Kingzone, and especially Peanut, say, we're not scared about that Taliyah versus Olaf matchup.
But the thing is, Valdez, I agree based on that premise, but we have to remember that BDD is a legendary Taliyah player. His highest win rate champion in his career is Taliyah. Much higher than 80% win rate. So they could be confirming it here. They could keep the flex pick status if they want to, but maybe they're just more confident with Peanut, a more mechanically blessed player than Ambition perhaps. Maybe more confident in making that happen, but you're right, the Olaf, it'll have to be a first round pick. It'll be banned if it's not selected by Kuro, but it's very likely to come in now that the Rise has been revealed.
Yeah, BDD on a lot of people's minds.
Are we just blind picking everything? We are.
Looks like it is. The Jace coming on in for Khan. They're not messing around this time around. And look at Keen's face. He's smiling. We got a couple of picks flashed here. The Pantheon as well as a Garen. But what will he pick? Into that Jace, he should have something prepared.
Pantheon jungle, of course, a big pick in solo queue and was buffed recently, but the Olaf is what we've been discussing. They know it's jungle, so they're going to be once again confident. The Olaf versus Taliyah matchup. If you get the drop on the Taliyah, pop the Predator, good luck Taliyah, you're going to be in a lot of strife. The Varus is a true flex pick on red side. I like to see that one. BDD is going to be on the Rise. Will it be a mid lane Varus against a mid lane Rise? Is something we will learn. Lethality Varus played by Kuro, an old favorite of his. Right now we know support jungle on the side of Afreeca. Kingzone have blind picked everything. They're going for what's working in scrims because they're not interested in counter picking at all.
They feel confident as a team based on their record that they should be able to shut out this team. But Afreeca, they've had some of the best pick and bans we've seen here in Korea. Now, I like what they brought so far. The Alistair is Tusin's top pick, as well as the Varus Flex, the Olaf into Taliyah. Everything's looking good so far, but we do need to round it out. Are they going to think about banning the GP? We saw the Quinn here from Keen in game number one. The GP into the Jace would be hard. What are they thinking to go for that top lane, or maybe just the Vel'Koz ban?
Now, they could have committed to coverage banning one of these champions, right? You could have gone for a Malphite ban because Keen is a noted Malphite player, and So1 was winning the Malphite versus Jace matchup. You could have also double banned against Rise. They banned one of each. Kingzones, there are picks available for Afreeca. This would be a compositional choice. The Ornn does very well against Jace early. Does, of course, fall away, but they're just going to go for the Ornn here instead of the Malphite. More reliable laning phase, a bit more push priority in the early game. So they're going to try and have strong engage, and, well, you've got some strong siege in 1-3-1 from Kingzone already. Understand the Ornn pickup. Kingzone, they can just take Xayah Rakan if they want it, but right now, hovering the Rakan.
Thinking about it so far, the Ornn pick, kind of sad for you guys who wanted to see Keen get some big-time carry plays, but can get solo kills still. We've seen top laners underestimate the damage and utility that comes out of the Ornn, but we do need to see what the bottom lane is going to be here for Kingzone. Already the Rakan has been locked in, and hovering a Misfortune, that would be a playoff pick.
It's definitely seen situationally an old favorite of Gorillas, but it's going to be the Kai'Sa, a lot more standard in this way, so no Xayah priority. Xayah often up, but not going to be selected. Going to take Kai'Sa Rakan, not the strongest 2v2 by any means. Could go Alistair Varus into it if you want, but we're working out. What will Kramer be playing? What will Kuro be playing? Which seems to be what we're trying to see on this final pick. Will it be Varus mid lane again into the Rise?
Well, it definitely seemed like Spo was thinking it, or we could just have Talon coming on in, as they're going to say, no Varus into the Rise. We're going to mix it up and flex that Varus into the bot lane.
Varus seen as an answer to Xayah Rakan, the lethality Varus. You have a bit more options now when you're against this duo, but it's a very squishy lineup from Kingzone, so it could be lethality. We'll wait and see. Speaking of lethality, Kuro jumping on the Talon again. Talon, big nerfs a couple of patches ago, but can roam, and Olaf and Talon popping up next to a Taliyah. Taliyah goes boom instantly, basically. So this is very much about Afreeca challenging Peanut in the jungle and trying to overtake in the early to mid game the jungle matchup, get the Olaf snowballing. Afreeca found success in the first game of the finals in Busan, really corralling Peanut. In game one, Spirit was all over Peanut in that LCK spring final.
Yeah.
If they can repeat that, if they can really shut down the Taliyah, get Jace behind, he can't split push, they don't have map control. Afreeca Freecs, they're definitely looking for some snowball with this Talon and the Olaf.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare the mechanical skill and the ability, perhaps, of the Kingzone members, you can say they are the favorites. But Afreeca, they've always been the pick ban team, the strategic team, the sneaky team, the team to come in with a new strategy up against a strong opponent. They're going to bring in a new pick, essentially, something we don't see too often in that Talon, as well as bringing in Spirit to try to shut down Peanut. So I feel like this is a very good place to start off this best of 5.
Definitely, there's viability on both sides, but Kingzone so bold. Blind pick mid, blind pick top, blind pick jungle. Afreeca Freecs have used their counter picks well, but the Kai'Sa's back, and maybe the Kai'Sa will be a bad omen for Afreeca Freecs.
They're going to be looking at that Kai'Sa and shivering in hopes they can defeat it this time around in the playoffs. And the countdown has started, guys. Let's jump straight into game number 1.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
The fans have come out in throngs today, as they always do, a filled-out Nexon Arena to set the stage here for which team is going to be making it into the Worlds. Will it be Kingzone with their win, or KT with Afreeca's win?
Effectively the quarterfinal, but we call it playoff round 1 in Korea because it is the first round of the best of 5s. Wildcard best of 3 was on Sunday. We're back 3 days later for the first best of 5. Kingzone DragonX versus Afreeca Freecs. Can actually be Unsealed Spellbook from Keen on the Orin. Can always pop over to Ignite, and those early trades go way better than you think of, because you think Jace smashing every lane matchup. The Orin can situationally do way more damage than you remember. Tucson, you can also remember, got his cowbell ready to go.
He's going to be feeling good about that pick, and where exactly is he going? Is he just going to help with the leash here because he's not in the bottom lane at a minute 30?
He doesn't have teleport either. This is Aftershock Alistar. He's just roaming, looking for a late invade. It's a Kingzone standard to invade with Jace to the top side and set up vertical jungling, right? Because then if you own the enemy's red side and your blue side jungle as the Blues team, well, then the Jace can just overextend forever, ranged auto attack, make Orin's life hell. So the Alistar's just there defensively to make sure that doesn't happen from Kingzone.
In Kingzone initially, it seemed like they thought the Alistar was in the bush. They check now, he is not. And Kramer was just fine to be down here on the bottom side. Kramer, another story that we have for this game. He was playing 2 games of Swain in the wildcard matchup against Genji. Looked really good on the awesome dude, but now he's back on an 80 carry. The Varus, can he pull it off?
And also, just the fact that Kramer's playing, because when Kingzone 2-0'd Afreeca Freecs in the second round robin, that week where they were losing after Rift Rivals came in, looked out of confidence, then beat KT and Afreeca Freecs back-to-back, that was Aiming playing both games. In the highlight reel at the start of the broadcast, it was Aiming get caught on the Kai'Sa, ironically. He had a really big game on that, but just couldn't close it out. So Kramer back in the lineup, like you mentioned. We're seeing him on a marksman this time after the Swain ban in the first round by Kingzone. Afreeca Freecs, there's just less data because they are the sort of team that can play new stuff. It is the 80 carry coming through from Kramer. Frey been on basically only 80 carries in recent memory. Oh, the cannon missed.
Oh, the cannon. I wasn't going to call out the...
You hate to see it. Also, we should call out that Khan finally lost on the Jace this year. Did lose. He's 3-1 on the Jace this season after dropping a game in the losing streak that Kingzone were on. When it comes to early control, you're definitely going to take the Varus in the trades over the Kai'Sa. Supports aren't going to influence this matchup too much. The Talon needs a bit of time, and Rake doesn't instant clear the backline like it used to with 40 damage shaved off from the level 5 rake a few patches ago. Little Ghost Borrow put down there, getting some more AD for Jace in the lane, and also can spot. Sort of thing where if Keen is being very aware, he can just look over and be like, okay, there's a Ghost Borrow place because his AD value is too high. Going to be spotted here by Spirit. He can clear it out soon.
It might just be a too new of a thing, but he actually places a control ward and says, well, that should be there. It's definitely one of those things that you would know about in scrims, rather. You know, you go over the replay, it's like, oh, they always love to place that Ghost Borrow in the top lane. We can just scout it out here. It's also going to keep that Ornn safe from a dive in the top side with that control ward.
And we should also talk more about the Olaf, because we mentioned very early, okay, they'll leave Talia open because Olaf jungle exists. Call that one out, Valdez, you were correct. Second time we're seeing this in recent series, and we saw Olaf priority in the final week of the LCK as well. We have to remember, back to spring season when Olaf was a big pick, Olaf with winning lanes is a strong thing, and the Olaf we saw with losing lanes did not impress us by any means. Situationally in top, before Jace shops a couple of times, there will actually be push priority for Keen, and he can get Ignite and have some kill pressure very early around level 6. In the bot lane, Varus will have control over this lane if he chooses to, for now just giving up some CS because of the positioning of his jungler. And mid lane is actually pretty even, so right now Afreeca do actually have their nose ahead. That does mean that Spirit, with his boots, with his Predator, can pop in and look for an aggressive play. Speaking of,
they find a Rakan in the river. Gorilla going for a very aggressive play here. They don't have enough damage, and they spot Peanut heading on over. He will be just fine, as he is the Rakan. Nice positioning by Spirit. We've been seeing a lot of this, just hiding in the bush, hide on bush, if you will, and just trying to spot people coming into certain areas, and it's been working out for Spirit.
Speaking of hiding on bush, we see Spirit waiting still, trying to eye up what could be a 4v4 in the mid lane. If enough people rotate, not going to see that. It's all about the size of the minion wave here. BD is saying, I need my shop timing. I need to make sure I don't use too many charges of minion dematerializer. Both of them have it. We're going to use one of his, and Spirit, in the meantime, going bot lane.
They're trying to get a summoner out of Prey here. It's going to be hard to kill him. The Predator coming in, though. They're looking for a bit of a dive here. Not going to get much, as the piercing arrow does miss, and Prey not going to use anything.
Some big spheres there. I looked over to the summoners, hadn't noted them before, and I see, okay, it's not heal, it's the teleport. From Prey this time, Kramer has a heal advantage. That's why they were willing to chance at least a semblance of a turret dive. Q goes wide, nice juke there. Kramer probably has good feelings about that one, remembering a ruler and his failed attempt to make a similar play a couple of days ago. Prey with a nice sidestep, and will continue farming on the Kai'Sa. If he can go CS for CS with the Varus, Kai'Sa gonna be very happy.
They'll have that amazing siege and map play you were talking about, especially if the Talia can get fed and not go 0-3 like Ambition did up against the Olaf. And so far, Spirit just playing a more positional game, a farming game, not necessarily looking for any ganks so far. You were talking about that Ignite in the top lane. How about a heal for Keen, just to make sure he doesn't die?
How about Kuro being down this many CS? 25 CS at 7 minutes. It's actually really hard to be down. It is a melee versus range matchup, and we mentioned that there are quite a lot of nerfs onto the Talon in the early game. Definitely feeling the brunt of that, and we saw, of course, all the junglers rotating through mid lane to impact it as well. So gonna have to pick up some CS here pretty soon. Only has the Merc Treads as the first buy. It is gonna be the Conqueror top lane, which cannot be extended as easily by Khan as he goes into that melee form. But Keen gonna be pretty happy.
Oh, okay, level 6 here. It might just be a solo kill.
It is.
The blast forward, and Kramer shuts down Prey as level 6 is hit before Prey can get it.
Steely Gaze, he just straight up outplayed him. Don't think in any way Prey was expecting the level 6 to be popped over. He misjudges, solo kill for Kramer.
You know, we were talking about awesome dudes for him. I'm going to hold my thought as the Genghis is coming into the top lane. The knock up here onto the J. Spirit going to get there. They get the flash, and now he's looking for Peanut, who is forced to flash. It's going to be the one-on-one up against Peanut. In the top side, though, Kian is going to take out Keen by himself. BDD going to make it over here with that Realm Warp. The burst damage from the Talon. Will it be enough? It does take out the Jace, but does the Olaf go down as well? Kuro will get away, but in the end, a 2-for-1 in favor of Kingzone.
3 kills coming in the top side, 1 on the bottom side, means overall a 2-for-2, but Obviously don't feel good as Prey doesn't lose minions because he can teleport back to lane. No heal on him was what was punished by Kramer. So definitely a big misjudge on the bot side, but it seems counterweighed by advantages top side. As speaking of advantages, Tucson already chancing some headbutt pulverizers. Tucson was in rare form on the Alistair against Genji, pulling off some amazing engages. Hoping we're going to actually see that engage play in this best of 5, because cruelly, when we did have Afreeca Freecs versus Kingzone in the spring final, it was Tucson on Tom Kench basically every game, outweighed by the Prey coming through on Kai'Sa in that series. So on the top side, Keen just baiting in Khan. Ends up overall that delayed 2-for-1 for Kingzone.
Like the idea going for Peanut on the Taliyah, but he misses his axe and he leaves his Ornn all alone. So Spirit goes flash for flash, but doesn't get the job done. Keen, or rather Kuro, has to kind of clean up, and Spirit at that point with the roam from the Rise wasn't able to do much. This ward should have spotted Spirit. They should know where the Olaf is.
And Khan just going to be happy to hang back and go play the Ruin King on this matchup. Turning to old strategies, and it seems to be well diagnosed by Afreeca Freecs as well. With no flash onto Jace, he is pretty easy to be taken down once the Ornn Horn is available, and we can see he's a couple seconds away from that ultimate. Jace going to be a pretty big split push to try to overwhelm, and we were hyping up the Olaf versus Taliyah matchup, but remember we talked about those conditionals of the winning lanes around it. Jace will eventually be able to do quite a lot of trade damage onto this Ornn. The Kai'Sa, once she can start taking Killer Instincts aggressively, can situationally have threat on the bottom side. So really, it's going to be a result of the vision line, a result of the side pressure, how the Taliyah is doing, because so far Peanut has skipped around the Olaf very deftly.
That he has. I was thinking about the mid lane and why Kuro should be down this far. He started off with Merc Treads, doesn't have the AD to get that really efficient clearing. Also, if you don't have Cleanse against Rise Taliyah, you're asking to die if you overextend. So I like the idea. He is a little bit far behind. We'll see if he can come through a little bit later on in the game, in the mid lane, or rather in the mid game, after picking up that assist in the top side.
And the hope for Afreeca will be that this Talon will always have a role, because he could just try to assassinate Kuro. Speaking of assassinating Kuro,
Khan for Khan once again here. No flash onto Keen. Here's your Talon right in your face. Down he does go. And this time, Khan is going to be the one baited in.
And that's the point I'm trying to get to, is that usually a Talon reaches a point where he can't kill the side lane tank. He doesn't really 1-3-1 fast enough. He takes Ignite instead of teleport. He doesn't have a role. If Kuro can just assassinate Jace in a side lane, then he's going to have a role this entire game. It's a sieging comp from Kingzone that runs to run 1-3-1, but they don't have sheer range on their 1-3-1. Their 3 in the mid lane is a Kai'Sa, who's a much shorter range champion. If the Jace being answered, maybe it's enough for Kuro that his laning phase hasn't been ideal. Picks up another kill involvement. Frozen Heart is now there on to Keen. Things getting slightly better for Afreeca Freecs.
This move from Spirit and Tucson, they move in onto the Drake. It looks like they're faking taking it as they're walking over the scuttle. Gorilla trying to come in here, get some vision. Kuro hops the wall. And no Infernal Drake will be taken for now, but Kingzone thought they were being duped there as the bottom lane and the Taliyah were not in position.
I think Kingzone definitely needs to know a lot more about what Afreeca is doing than what Afreeca needs to know about Kingzone. Afreeca have much more reliable engage with the Ornn and also the Varus and Alistair. They also have the ability to come out of vision with huge burst and skirmishing with the Olaf and Talon showing up very quickly with Predator and also the ability to jump over the wall. Kingzone definitely need to slow and steady these plays. But still on 8:15, so there's still vision provided by the Taliyah ultimate, a very useful utility thing that's being removed on patch 8.16. Khan roaming down. They'd love an Infernal Drake. It's a Jace comp.
Yep, gonna take that one pretty much for free. The Talon was super low. I think that's part of the reason why they just walk on over and take it. They had full bottom side river control as well. Khan even heading his way down, even though he did have the teleport advantage, didn't need to use either of those abilities. They'll just make it back, and that's a fantastic Drake for them to pick up.
While we're outlining how Kuro could potentially be relevant as the game goes on, because usually you just think, oh, Kuro doesn't get the kills, he's Talon, he's done. Remember that Afreeca Freecs are basically full AD. It's not going to be an AP Varus in this build, it is by the Ruin King. It's a full AD comp, and sometimes that might mean you just scoff at it and say it falls off. there's no tanks on the side of Kingzone, so it's not going to fall off as hard. But for the Rise, who's going to have Ninja Tabi, soon Seraphs, he's going to be able, you think, to beat anybody in the side lane. And that's the one variable with BD already up in CS that might actually send a real shiver up the spine if you're Afreeca Freecs.
Take a look at the positioning of Kuro. He was just walking around the top side. The scuttle was taken, so he couldn't run up the river. Kino was nearby as well. BDD, we've talked a lot about how he's trying to earn that MVP of the split so far, and, well, already most CS in the game. Had a relatively easy lane, dominating the Talon so far. I want to see him carry, though, once again on the Rise. We've seen him do a lot of crazy things on Aurelion Sol, on Zoe, specifically in terms of carrying in that sense, but can he help his team win on the Rise? That's what I want to see.
I think it's definitely something he can use very well. Good laning phase already, the 1-3-1. He seems unassailable. Of course, he will not be able to repeat as a 3-time season MVP. The regular season MVP already won by his teammate Khan, but playoffs MVP's up for grabs. Speaking of up for grabs, being Spirit and Kuro still being pretty tense. Remember that at 15 minutes, we haven't seen much value out of the Olaf Talon on the invade until maybe now.
Oh, fight in the bottom lane goes the direction of Afreeca. They want to get another kill, and Peanut going extremely low in the jungle. He's going to go down, and look at this. The knockup is going to miss BDD, but the flash on in from Keen will pick it up. The axe from Spirit gets the double kill. Khan, he is late on the TP, and Afreeca get 3 kills and a huge lead.
We missed so much of the context on how that happened. They were double pincered around the red side jungle and also the bot lane. I really don't know how it started, but definitely it was finished with aplomb by Afreeca Freecs. We were worried that they would be outscaled in the early game, couldn't get anything done at 15 minutes, but it turns on just at 15. Headbutt pulverize, CC chain. Gorilla just straight up dies, just like we saw Prey straight up dying. What's going on with the bot lane, we ask? In the meantime, Peanut assassinated, Kuro able to kill his old teammate. Don't see Kuro go down on this side either. Perfect play from Afreeca, just a disaster for Kingzone.
A huge disaster, that's for sure. We're seeing a lot of why the Olaf works so well into the Taliyah. He face checks the Olaf in the jungle, and then you're dead. It's flash for flash over the wall. He tries to escape with his own wall. That doesn't work if you get damaged, right? So he goes down, BDD kind of gets baited into it, and unfortunately in the bottom lane, Gorilla just not respecting the amount of CC that Varus Alistair has.
I know, but that's caster speak, right? You want to say things like that, but you can't have Prey straight up die and then Gorilla straight up die to a Varus. It's happened now in back-to-back plays. Not good enough for the duo that have been sticking with the marksman. It's Kramer on the Varus, which is the surprising thing, but Prey and Gorilla both misjudging a pretty simple execution for Afreeca is the part that just should not be allowed in a game of this magnitude.
We'll see if Kingzone can get any foundation under their team right now. They're about 2,000 gold behind here at 17 minutes. But again, Peanut needs to do a lot more damage to discourage the Olaf from just running all over him. The Olaf already with that extra money, with the 3 kills that Spirit has, by the way, has picked up the cloak. He's got a lot of magic resist in his build already, and he's not going to go down that easily.
And this is the part of the game where Afreeca have to stick the landing. Kind of similar analysis to what we were talking about with the Quinn game in Game 1 against Gen G, where right now they have a lot of things that Kingzone can't answer. Olaf rolls through with 3 kills and this much tankiness. Press Predator, you got to get the hell out of there. Doesn't really matter. If it's an even trade of members, you're not going to be able to out-skirmish them. Now the Talon has his first item complete out of nowhere. He's only down 20 CS still, but he also has a Olaf. And Olaf and Talon going to wreck anybody. 2v2, 2v3. Kingzone have to play respectful until they can hit the 1-3-1, put down a Rise route, and Prey swoops in with the killer instinct, and they assassinate people and make the map wide. Afreeca Freecs own basically every other scenario, so it's on Afreeca to basically take every open invitation. Here we go.
Here we go again. Prey just way too far up the lane, and Kramer's going to easily go for the flash chain of corruption. Takes him out with the help of that, and Kuro looking for more is going to be charmed up. In the bottom side, they're going to try to dive here onto Keen. Will be successful. The 3-for-1 will trade it 1-for-1.
Kingzone are making plays on one side, but nothing's being thought through on the other. You have to hang back. if you're going to have 3 members diving bot lane. But Kingzone just aren't thinking 3 steps ahead. They're actually multiple steps behind Afreeca Freecs, and they will lose another turret. It's going to be 3 out of turrets down to 18 minutes. This game was at parity 3 minutes ago.
Yep, this game is spiraling out of control already, and it's just a couple of mistakes and face checks from the side of Kingzone that's allowing this to happen. Not to mention a second Infernal Drake here. Kingzone, though, they have done a good job of coming in here in time. Afreeca were just focusing on other objectives, and at least the second Infernal will go to Kingzone.
So DragonX, you're right. They'd have more battle stats, which means that the light at the end of the tunnel is still very bright. It's looking beautiful in 20 minutes time, but the next 10 minutes is looking very perilous for Kingzone. Consider Prey's thought process of, I can't see anything, I really want this cannon minion, then you just die. And that's so greedy, such a greedy play. Look where his support is. Support's chilling out behind the turret doing a vision play. He's not there. With his team, he's probably coordinating with the other members on the other side. Prey and Gorilla have made now 3 different laning mistakes between the 2 of them. Kingzone can make another good play, but they can't afford to take 1 step forward, 2 steps back when they're playing into when Afreeca is at their strongest point.
Yep, you were talking about sitting back, waiting for the later game, allowing those percentages on the Infernal Drakes to do the work for you, but you had to have known with zero vision control that they were going for the Rift Herald. They wanted to accelerate this game. Definitely a bit of a mistake, and unfortunately the bottom lane so far for Kingzone has been disappointing a bit. Kramer and Tucson, Kramer on the AD carry, they've been a delight, right? They're taking these chances and they're saying thank you very much, we're going to go ahead and try to carry for our team. Definitely good news for their confidence in game number 1.
So Kingzone, what you do now, you take a deep breath, you remember how strong your 1-3-1 is, you're pretty happy with where your Rise is at, still up in CS. You get some wards on the map. That's what we see Talia and the Rakan comboing for now. Until they walked over some of the vision, it was just lit up by Afreeca Freecs. So you need to actually get control vision down, but that's not enough. The awkward thing is you also need to find an extra warding totem to ward all the paths that the Assassin's Path E from the Talon is made predictable. Of course, warding against the Talon, just like warding against a Rammus and some of the other Predator laners, is a little bit different. Against an Evelynn, that's another one. Need to make Afreeca predictable, because right now, we've already explained, you can't outdo their item spikes and just where their champions are naturally around level 12, level 13 at 20 minutes in. Make this game predictable. Don't take any more risks as Tucson misses the headbutt ball.
Not the first time we've seen that, but the double knockup from the Yard, and look at Spirit go. There is nothing that this front line can do to stand up to Afreeca. An easy couple of kills, even after another failed engage there from Tucson. Afreeca running away with this one.
They just keep bulldozing Kingzone. Oh, flash headbutt pulverized does miss by Tucson. Some zoning plays.
Not the first time you said that today.
Yep. I mean, you could basically say the same thing for both teams. Kingzone have kept just bashing their head against a wall, which is Olaf, Talon, Varus in the early game. And that has been taken advantage of with 21 minutes in. They know that Kingzone have never been around for vision in this area. So for now, it's not scouted.
They're going to be running into a level 14 Talon who's going to go ahead, and they're going for the turn here, trying to slow down BDD. There is the Rakan. Kuro still on the chase. They find Prey on the top side. Kuro is going to go over. Look at King going 1v2 on the back side. Prey goes down as well. Khan just desperately trying to get whatever he can on the backside. And Kuro's gonna survive. He flashes away from that damage of the Jays. But Talia now pushing forward, and there's the engage from Tucson. Should be able to go down. Nice last rock from Peanut. Maybe a little bit too aggressive towards the end, but still ends up in favor of Afreeca.
1 for 2 is not the worst, but look at where the minion waves are when they're making this play happen. Afreeca Freecs have the backup here. You don't feel great about a 2 for 1 when you're now only 11-4 in kills. You're already way ahead, so you don't blow it open going 2 for 1. But a lot of minions are being lost to the turret at the same time, so that's why an extended fight suits them. Look at how far Kramer is ahead of Prey. He's at 3,500 gold at 22 minutes into the game. Outrageous lead. Kuro's positioning here is very intelligent. Afreeca Freecs know that given where the minion waves are at, if they also went 3 or 4 for 1, the game might just end in this play.
Well, they tried to make the best of a scenario. They did eventually kill Tucson. I think right here, maybe you just back off, go for it, but Peanut gets a little bit too close. Tucson takes some of the rocks on the ground and is going to go down. Could have been a 2-for-0, but I think they really wanted to follow up. They're feeling the energy, and they are very far ahead, so why not? But definitely a nice play there from Afreeca. It was very early on in the game, so they didn't have a ton of Baron damage. The turn was the best scenario for them.
Surprise of this game is it's been played out. If I was going to explain it to someone who didn't watch it, it seems like Kingzone are playing champions they know they're good at, and Afreeca are playing champions they know they can beat those champions with. It feels like Afreeca Freecs are very confident with their comp into the enemies, and Kingzone are like, we got Talia, Jason, Rise, yes, you know? And that, unfortunately, Afreeca have just been able to exploit mistakes like this again and again.
Doesn't have his flash here. There's the Chains of Corruption. Should be the burst damage here. It's going to get slammed down by the Olaf, and now he just runs away from the Talia. Another caught member of Kingzone in the jungle will go down.
Kingzone just keep taking liberties. Can I face check this brush? Should always be first thought no, especially in playoffs against an Afreeca Freecs team that is in good form, that disseminated Gen G just a few days ago. Instead, everyone's going on solo missions, feeling stronger than they truly are. I don't know who you're trying to impress, but it's definitely not impressing my macro brain at this point, because it feels like Kingzone have made a lot of mistakes and Afreeca have been great at seizing on them. This feels like the mistakes are a bit more conspicuous than any sort of super plays from Afreeca.
It's not that clean macro play we've come to know and love from Kingzone. It's just mistake after mistake. Sure, Afreeca are playing a good game of League of Legends, but, well, can't keep doing this. Face checking that control ward. Thankfully, he has the Zonias or that stopwatch ready and available, but he gets low. They're going to have to give away another objective after the inner turret. Going to give away this Mountain Drake, and Afreeca trying to roll this one into a game one victory.
Again, the double Infernals mean that Ray of Light, which, okay, it's flickering a bit at this point. It's still there. They still will feel very confident in a 1-3-1 eventually. Well, Kingzone, but Afreeca Freecs have been really able to reduce this game to very basic tenets. For example, look at Kingzone. What don't they have? We mentioned in Champions Set, they don't have a tank, right? They don't have a true tank. Rakan is the closest thing. He's got a Zeke's Convergence, not even trying to be a tank. At the end of the day, Kingzone can't put down vision to reclaim the map, because one person walks in and they get exploded by Varus or Olaf or the Talon. So, how do you get vision down? You either change to blue trinkets or you go as a team and put down vision. Instead, we've seen how many people on the side of Kingzone hear the call from someone in comms of we need more vision and then die for it, or almost die being chunked out. As a team, they need to get over the vision problems, put down some control vision. You can't have vision on the red side and the blue side. Turns out you made too many mistakes. You can't have vision everywhere. You can get vision somewhere and play around what you have. The Kingzone have just been getting greedy, trying to get back into this game. They need to play it calm, and they also need to hope that Afreeca don't increase the pace anymore.
Well, you mentioned controlled vision, control wards. There was one on the red side here, but the majority of them are in that blue side triangle. One in that forward brush, one behind the wall, one on the left side by the blue. Sit here, wait for a pick of your own, wait to see if Afreeca make a mistake at Baron. They did pick up a Mountain Drake, which is really unfortunate for you because their Baron speed just got that much faster on top of the Varus that does have the Blade of the Rune King. But outside that Varus, their Baron damage is not that much, so you might want to make a play over there if someone on the side of Afreeca makes a mistake. But so far, it's been relatively clean from them. Definitely a good game for them to sit back on.
But they do have the tanks. They do have reliable engage. They want this to be a Baron game, and they're ready for Kingzone to face check.
Well, Kingzone is going to see Tucson here. That's a little bit suspicious. The wall's going to come through and get that vision, but it feels like it's too late already. And there it is. The smite comes in from Spirit, and Afreeca have picked up the Baron.
Afreeca Freecs' good early play allows for a clean Baron like that. The Kingzone are in no position to contest. They don't have the items to do so. They've already face-checked and died too many times as a team. They try to make something happen on the map, and it's well punished by Afreeca Freecs. They take the Baron. Now they're going to start sieging with strong engage, with turret dive potential on the Olaf and the Ornn. And pop over to the Deer, the humble Deer on the side, and then just look at Spirit's play this game. Started off with the early play. Top side to help out his Ornn. That part is pretty standard, but it was the 4 X's around the red buff, when at the same time we had Varus take down the solo kill bot side. That was really the Camel that broke the back of Kingzone. They just fell too far behind from that play, and it doesn't matter that Jace has some items to punish the Ornn in the side lane. It's now Warmogs, Frozen Heart, and a Gargoyle Stone Plate. This is a turret dive team fight dream from King.
Yeah, it's Spirit and Kramer, the ones that are Unreal fed. If you take a look at the gold, it's Kramer now on 3.5 items to a Kai'Sa that's desperately trying to get her 2.5 items. The Kai'Sa compositions, we've seen them kind of work towards the end here in 8-14 and 8-15 as the meta has been slowing down, but if you make mistakes in the early game, your Kai'Sa's going to get too far behind. You're going to have to wait for 40 minutes.
You definitely don't factor in the random solo kills happening multiple times that really change the math on that one, Valdez. The quick math doesn't work out for Prey and Gorilla this time. They got the Baron buff for another minute 45. They have a huge turret dive threat as no one from Kingzone can walk up, and that poke from Jace, it's not hurting too much.
Yeah, it doesn't do much. Talon in the mid lane gonna use this Ornn ultimate to zone them out. They get the knock-up onto the Recon, Chains of Corruptions, and all the minions will do the work alongside a Kramer. Gorilla gets double knocked up into the Alistar. There it is, the Ornn Alistar composition. Kuro showing up as well, and it is a landslide slaughter as 3 of them gonna go down. They're looking for more now. They want to get that third. BDD is gonna take a bit of damage, but now they're just looking to push into the game.
This should be it, Valdez. They still have Kramer at full health. Doesn't matter. Some of their tanks fell low. All right, seeing the attempt here.
Really good wall to cut up the minions so that Kramer can't attack the turret.
Okay.
And they get the Alistar here. Keen going way too deep. Is going to miss that one BDD. He wants to carry his team. Going to look for that forest. There is the stopwatch, though. He is going to survive for now. Kramer trying to pop off. He's not able to kill BDD somehow. He does survive, but in the end, at least Afreeca will get out with their life.
Kingzone DragonX buy themselves a reprieve. It didn't look likely, but the Weaver's Wall was excellent by Peanut. That was enough to actually buy the time. Didn't matter that Keen was fairly tanky in the front. He was going to die eventually. Had no way to disengage to. See if Kingzone can find a way to punish. At this point, you're hoping for a blue buff and maybe the outer top lane turret. You'll get no more. Afreeca Freecs, their turret dive threat was immense. The Ornn Horn is called in. The Call of the Forge God registers. But then it's the Varus ult hitting again. They're happy for the turret, but they'll take more. Here comes the punish. Keen with a 2-man knock-up into a 3-man knock-up from Tucson. That's a synergy Afreeca didn't even need to get the big lead earlier. That's a synergy that almost allows them to end the game.
Well, if you're going to group up underneath a destroyed turret, you're going to get knocked up by Ornn, and it's the easiest follow-up ever for the Alistar as well. It's a miracle that they didn't lose. You mentioned it, I mentioned it. That wall saves their life, essentially. As with the Baron minions, maybe they would have been able to push on in. The rest of them were taking a bunch of damage, so maybe it wouldn't have meant the game ending, but take a look at life here as Kuro is trying to take down BDD. Not going to get the stun or lockdown onto Kuro, so no turnaround.
And the picture-in-picture play of BD being able to turn around and fire onto Talon was where this game was going. That was the light at the end of the tunnel. Was eventually, Ryze has enough tankiness and damage to turn around and outduel the Talon. Talon was not going to be able to win both lane assignments. Chansey can burst to Jace at any point, but the Ryze was always going to get over the hump and be able to turn around on him. So much has happened around the game that probably won't matter this time. But Kingzone should be reminded of where they could have gotten to. They had been a bit more respectful earlier in the game. Freaking know they're a couple of picks away from just straight up ending the game. But for now, maybe the game will be extended. Afreeca's best place to play around is a neutral objective like the Baron. Baron doesn't spawn for a while.
Second Mountain Drake's going to make that Baron take even easier. Means they can push in a little bit easier. We were talking about their engage with the Ornn Alistar. We saw it in action in the bottom side. It's part of the reason why Kingzone aren't going to move outside of their base. Just going to let that last outer turret go down and say, well, we got to hold down our base, guys. We have to wait this one out with a double Infernal. Let us get some items. Finally, we do have 3 items on the Kai'Sa. The Ryze is beginning to come up here as well. Kingzone still have a chance, even though they're down 10,000 gold.
Question is, how do you kill or trivialize Kramer? Because he is just the most fed. He almost has 6 items at 32 minutes. Stay Zeal item completion away. Might be rapid fire cannon just for a bit more safety and more burst on the poke here. Kramer is not a lethality Varus. He is not falling off. He is obscenely far ahead. And there's no threat onto the backline, barring an amazing Realm Warp or Kai'Sa herself going in there. She's going to duck, so she is not going to be diving in. We'll pray 0-4-0 on this game. So the difference in the marksman is very likely to make it almost impossible for Afreeca Freecs to be taken down in a true 5v5, unless you can make it a very advantageous flank. It seems very difficult for Kingzone to win against Afreeca.
It's a flank that goes heavily in your favor, or it's the perfect 4-5-man knockup from Gorilla, where they take the anti-engage away, you know, the Ornn, the Alistar, and then somehow Prey gets into the backline, kills the Varus before, because in the last fight he had the stopwatch, what kept him alive after the tanks were down. This time he doesn't, so maybe a mistake at Afreeca would be the answer for Kingzone this time.
Get a little tool away from Afreeca. Spirit is caught trying to steal away vision and has to ult. I wonder if we can now think about something for Game 2, Valdez, because do note that we do not see Tahm Kench on the side of Kingzone. He is usually the one to bail out his team. Mata, also a big aficionado, was banned away, as we know, by Afreeca Freecs. Gorilla 12-2 Tahm Kench. Prey this time has a Rakan, not a Tahm Kench to help him out, not a Braum either in this particular game. And the bot lane's 0-7-1, which tells you that that particular attention to bot lane has worked exquisitely well for Afreeca. And there's no guarantees that Kingzone can find a stable duo, because Prey and Gorilla are really struggling to make this work.
Love the positioning here from Kuro. What are you gonna do? You have no way to just base check this. They're gonna try to send Gorilla on in. The wall is atrocious from Peanut. They do get the Baron slow though, the double knockup here, but it is Keen. And here comes Kuro to the backline, trying to get on top of Prey. Is not gonna be able to do it, does in the backside, finally. Will gladly trade his life for that kill. Gets the AD carry away, but now it's up to BDD to do that damage. Can they counter-engage here? Gotta keep Kramer in a place where he can do some damage. BDD is gonna zone his away from that one. In goes Jace in the backline, they knock back Kramer. Knock up here onto Peanut, and finally Kramer goes down as well as Rakan. And there's now that front line for Kramer to take down BDD. They finally do it. They have the wave pushing in the backside, and now it looks like Afreeca might win the game.
Spirit chasing on to Peanut. He's going down as well. Afreeca Freecs will win game number 1, just like they did in the LCK final. Kramer couldn't auto-attack for the start of the fight. It was very smart from Rise to use the Realm Warps to zone away Kramer. But after that, all the sins of the past were too much. Didn't matter what you did as Kingzone DragonX, you were eventually going to go down. Here's Prey, front row seat to watch Afreeca Freecs winning game number 1.
Not much he can do. He was the first target as Kuro's Talon is able to pick up a win here in game number 1, and Afreeca with the surprising game 1 victory is going to go ahead in this series.
Nicely done by Afreeca Freecs. Kingzone DragonX surprising us with the sort of rustiness they were showing at Rift Rivals, and after Rift Rivals, they seem to have worked out those issues. Kingzone came in on a 5-match win streak, but the problems crop up. Their ugly head, the bot lane without the Tahm Kench doesn't look like it is in any way the Prey and Gorilla duo that have built up such a reputation for not dying in lane with very few resources over the course of the last 4 years. Kramer plays Varus, no problem that he's off the Swain, and Afreeca Freecs smash Kingzone in the early game. The bold strategy of blind picking your jungle and 2 solo laners is definitely turned on its head, and a well-deserved victory for Afreeca Freecs.
Coach comes in, points at Prey's keyboard, probably asks them, was there a problem with your keyboard in this game? Because he was not the guy. Oh boy, look at him. The coach is going hard on Tucson, and he deserves it. Tucson, fantastic game here. I love Uv getting really, really hyped after that win, but Prey and the rest of Kingzone have a lot of thinking after game 1.
This is a really cool Prey, because Talon is patrolling one entrance to the Baron, and then the Ornn ult would have been able to ravage the other. But the moment that Talon commits, Rise puts down the Realm Warp behind and zones away Kramer. Kramer was the VIP for the side of Afreeca Freecs, wasn't able to do damage, but because Afreeca won the early game, the play works out anyway. That's the result of getting a gold lead. And then by the end, it looked like BDD. Could he find the heroic play and assassinate Kramer? He could not. Kramer stays safe, and when he starts free autoing, they can only be one winner in this team fight.
Love how he waits until he's absolutely safe, as you mentioned. BDD just couldn't get into the back line. They play front to back here. Kramer just waiting until he can do damage and not die. Stays alive towards the end. And well, Peanuts Talia, I mentioned it before, looks a lot like Ambitions Talia against Olaf. I do not want to see it again, first picked on the blue side. We'll see if Afreeca, who may go into the blue side here for game number 2, if they have any other ideas about that jungle matchup.
And Afreeca Freecs, because of the dynamic side selection, chooses side for game number 2. We don't know yet. We'll get the confirmation after the break. Will they even choose blue side? They did against Gen G. Blue side is traditionally considered the better side, but put out the traditions, just win your set. That's what Afreeca want to do.
And we'll be back after just 10 minutes after this break.